Aloha, all you royal path walkers. So I wanted to come on and talk a little bit more about manipulations, and I recently shared a manipulation within the Conqueror initiation, or the Conqueror card, and I want to go a little bit deeper with you guys on the topic. So I was saying how the Chariot is usually associated with Cancer. And I pulled out this card to give you guys an example. You can see the sign for Cancer up here. You can see the crab down here. Okay, and then the Hebrew letter here is chet. So I believe this is a manipulated version. We can make associations with the zodiacal sign of Cancer in relation to this card. For example, the chet means a basket or something that holds something within it. Okay, so that's like the Cancer, the crab, the shell, and the being inside the shell that it's protecting. And then you can also see how the Chariot is sort of the vehicle or the vessel for ascension, or sort of like the shell of the being inside. In this way, it also relates to Cancer and this protective shell. So we can see the association. And ultimately, if we look deeply enough, we can find many different zodiacal references, because the many live within the one. So you can essentially point out many different themes within each major arcanum card. But if you examine just the element alone of Cancer, water, it doesn't particularly best encompass the energy of this card. Whereas in the ancient Egyptian version of the Chariot, known as the Conqueror, better known in my opinion as the Conqueror, the Hebrew letter associated is actually the Zayin. And the Zayin is a plow or a sword or a sharp object. It's also the male phallus. Right away you can see how that even more so encompasses the energy of the Conqueror, right? Also, the zodiacal reference to this card in ancient Egypt is Sagittarius instead of the crab, instead of Cancer. Sagittarius is a fire sign. Now we're talking, okay? The Chariot is certainly very fiery. The Chariot implies, and also the Conqueror implies motion, the active force, that masculinity, that fire. And this is better associated by the fire of Sagittarius than it is by the crab of Cancer. Another thing about Sagittarius is that it is the ruler of philosophy and travel. Philosophy of what? Travel to where? Well, when we consider fire, spirit, it starts to make sense. When Sagittarius is related to the Conqueror, or also known as the Chariot, we begin to understand we're talking about the philosophy of spirit. We're talking about spiritual philosophy. We're talking about travel in regard to the soul's journey. And you will typically see the winged sun disk. Also on the Brotherhood of Light version is I wish I had that one out, but I don't at the moment, has a winged sun disk representing that immortal flight of the soul. So you can see how when we relate it to Sagittarius, as the ancient Egyptians did, it opens up a whole new world. So yes, while there are associations we can make to Cancer, the top and priority sign associated with the Chariot or the Conqueror is Sagittarius. So this is just an example of how even with the manipulated version, you can still see the truth, because the truth is in all things. However, it's a more limited perspective on the truth. It's almost like, here's a little bit of truth, but you're not going to go all the way type of a thing. So you don't need to be afraid of receiving these half-truths. But what you should focus on, rather than being afraid, is developing the eye that sees the bigger picture. So then even when you're using the Rider-Waite or you're using another deck that has these manipulations, you can see through it. I think it's valuable to understand the manipulation so that you can see the partial truths within the greater picture. It only helps to add to your knowledge. But it's ultimately very important to be able to find the priority zodiacal reference, because then everything else falls into place. Without knowing the true applications, the picture is just more limited. So for example, how this would play out in a reading is that you'll be doing a reading based on the manipulations, and some truth may come up, may be revealed. But knowing the truthful and the proper ancient associations blows the reading up. Okay, it helps your practice deepen infinite fold, not even threefold. It magnifies the magic so greatly. And so this is why I do what I do. This is why I created this group. This is why I do the weekly activations, to show people that the ancient way of tarot reveals so much more to the picture. And anybody can be a master reader when you have the ability to see this bigger picture. So let's talk about another manipulation to go even deeper with this. Okay, so in most modern tarot decks, the moon is associated with the Hebrew letter Kaf. The pictorial symbol for Kaf, because every Hebrew letter has an associated picture, symbol, or hieroglyph, is a sun on the horizon. We don't know if it's rising or setting. We can see a connection because after the moon comes the sun. 18, 19. And it even looks like the sun is already there, hidden within the moon. And there's so much to be said about that, but I'm going to stick to the topic of this Hebrew letter Kaf, so we could see how if Kaf is associated with this, it's telling us the sun is hidden in the moon. The sun is about to come. It's about to rise. It's hinting at the next part of the sequence, right? But if we look to the ancient Egyptian system, the moon is associated actually with, I'm trying to remember the Hebrew letter. The moon is associated with Cancer. I'm trying to remember the Hebrew letter for you guys. And good thing I have my book right here. So let's check it out. Let's go straight to the chapter of the moon. The Hebrew letter Tzadi. Okay. Because the Hebrew letter Tzadi is the 18th letter of the alphabet, just like the moon is the 18th card. And it holds a number value of 90, which can be reduced to a 9, because 9 plus 0, 90, is a 9. Just as 18 can be reduced to a 9, 1 plus 8 equals 9. The Tzadi, the letter Tzadi, represents the Tzadik, which in Hebrew means righteous one. And it's known as the foundation of the earth. This is why in the Kabbalistic tree of life, the foundation, or Yesod, is represented by the moon. Tzadi is also related to the root word tzod, meaning to hunt or to capture. Here we can conclude that the moon within may either guide us through the darkness of the night toward the true light of the sun, or capture us in the twilight of its expression, as a deception that there is no light beyond it. So the pictorial symbol for the moon appears to be a man lying down face up. That's the pictorial symbol associated with the Tzadi. Here he's either reaping the benefits of internal illumination or inciting his future downfall as he trades the light within for the deceiving light of what is outside. So you can see how the Tzadi is very fitting for the moon. And you can see that Cancer is very fitting for the moon. Because Cancer is related to the moon. Cancer is ruled by the moon. Cancer is a water sign. Check out the water. Here is the crustacean. We have a shelled being who's about to emerge and head onto the path. So it's like this is us reprogramming the subconscious, the waters, and then emerging on the path to ultimately the sun, which comes next. So Cancer is very clearly associated with the moon, not necessarily the Chariot. So you see, there's always one best planetary or zodiacal sign for each card. From there, you can then make many connections to all of the different zodiacal signs and all of the planets, because all of the many are within each one. But there's always one that is most relative, that is most resonant, that is most connected. And that serves as your access point, your beginning point to start to see the whole picture of whatever initiation or whatever part of the story we're in. So for example, if you approach from the manipulated version, if you choose to use the manipulated truth as your access point, your path into the initiation is going to be limited. You're not going to access the deepest wisdom within that part of the story. But if you start off on the right foot, if you enter in through the proper access point, there is expansion. The whole experience is widened. You're able to see so much more, extract so much more. So those were just a couple of examples, and I'll continue to share more examples in the private group, The Royal Path here. And looking forward to, because there are so many within this deck, and each manipulation uncovered opens up a whole new world, as I hope this did for you today with the moon, the sun, and the chariot. Thank you guys for tuning in to this quick message of the day, and I look forward to all of your shares in the group. Much love.